All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Ms. Groom, will you please call roll?
Ms. Stone? Here. Dina Wem Pascalakis?
Here.
Mr. Mayara?
Here.
Ms. Register? Dina P. Pascalakis?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Chafin?
Here.
Chairman Lee?
Here. Do we have a motion to approve last month's minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving last month's minutes, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, respond by saying nay. All right. Last month's minutes are approved. We'll move on to item number 4 on the agenda, which is DEV 2015-13, conditional use for outdoor service area for Sunsetters Riverfront Restaurant. Reed?
Okay. We have a opportunity to once again have a restaurant down at the river on Main Street reopened again. And in this instance, there is a requirement if you're going to use the outdoor areas of the restaurant, you have to meet certain conditions for serving alcohol and food out on the outside areas. And there's 3 distinctive areas that we're talking about that the code requires you to look at and make sure that all of the requirements are met. Let me just bring up those requirements. Thank you. I don't know if we're working or not. Let's see. May not be able to make that go. If you could bring that up to the conditions. Okay, that might be hard to see for you, but the conditions are basically that there is screening from residential uses, and there's also the perimeter. This is all in your report, that the perimeter of the use is defined in accordance with the state of Florida alcoholic beverage regulations, and that is something that they've applied for and are going through that process right now with the state. And the last part is the notification requirement, and that has been accomplished. And so we believe that all of the basic requirements for conditional use have been met. Now, having said that, there's always other things that have to happen when you're going to open up a property with regards to redevelopment standards. And the property owner has provided the permission for the new tenant for Sunsetters, Mr. Ian Anderson, to go ahead and apply for permits to make improvements, get a new sign, and create this new restaurant. So he is here this evening, and he can share with you what his plans are in opening up this restaurant, and I think that would be beneficial for all of you to hear what he has to say.
Before we get there,
Sure.
The screening has been performed. You got a 6.
There is some screening back there in the back of the restaurant. So if you're, I have a picture of that one along there. And that's none of the ones that I included are very good for the back, but there is a fence back there.
Okay, there is.
There's a concrete.
And a wall, concrete wall. That's the blue wall. It's still blue, right? As of now. Today it's okay. Yeah, there's going to be some painting done, and we've approved the paint colors.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's okay with the chairman,
Please,
if
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson, come up.
I appreciate your time tonight.
Will you state your name and address, please?
Sorry, Ian Anderson with IAGL Properties. Currently live at 913 Peninsula Drive in Ormond Beach.
Thank you.
And this is regarding 115 Main Street in Daytona Beach. So my wife Megan and I were fairly long-time residents here, keep driving by this restaurant, never really understood why it hasn't made it. We've gone in it numerous times, and really trying to turn this place around. I think since it was opened as direct, it kind of started off great, and probably the last 4 or 5 tenants that had been running that just kind of took advantage of Bike Week and let it really kind of go to the wayside. We're really looking to make this a full, long-term investment, market to the locals, make this year-round. The fact that it's on Main Street is kind of a coincidence, but we're, looking for a nice place to have a restaurant on the water. I think this area lacks that. Beachside, there's nothing down until you get to Ponce Inlet, going north up in Flagler Beach. So it's a big undertaking. We really went back and forth just because of the amount of work that needs to go into this to bring it up to speed. It's kind of divided. Half the restaurant is inside, half is outside. That whole outside is enclosed with storm shutters that are all completely shot. So that was a big investment. But we're looking to get approval basically to have what they had in the past, which is outdoor dining, food and beverage service in that outdoor patio area. There's a small deck that overlooks the river, and then there's another paver patio deck area. If you look in your packet, kind of the top photo shows that paver patio area. The storm shutters that you can see behind that, those all open fully to the ceiling. That's the outside, kind of the inside-outside dining area. And then the middle picture shows a little shot of that deck area that goes up to the riverfront. So this has been approved to serve food and beverage in the past, so we're just looking to reinstate what has been approved in the past. And we're really looking to make it nice. We've already gotten pretty much paint on the whole exterior, trim. We've put in all new flooring. It really was built as an oversized biker bar. We've knocked down the inside bar to make it more family restaurant. So we're trying to target more the family and the waterfront. The name is Sunsetters. We're going to celebrate the sunset and the river and really make it a nice place.
All right, thank you.
Any questions?
Questions for Mr. Anderson?
There you go.
You know the history behind this place. You've done your homework, you've done everything, right?
We have heard a lot of stories,
Okay.
but yes.
There is the biggest issue with this place here that I have is, as a matter of fact, he's right behind you. Have you talked to the neighbors and set up as everything with the neighbors?
We have met with Mr. Webster, as well as the adjacent neighbor. I cannot recall his name right now,
Bless
but
you.
yeah, we've met with both the neighbors, and we've also worked out agreements as far as parking with Rossmeyer's and the space across the street. We met with Stevens Tire. He has been agreeable as well. So we want to be friends to all of our surrounding neighbors.
Mr. Webster, he's the main. He's the main.
Yes, we're trying to meet all of his needs and be as cooperative as possible.
I didn't forget. That's all right, not a problem.
And you plan on having outside entertainment there occasionally?
Yeah, and it's more acoustic,
Low-key
not
acoustic.
full band, yeah. And
think that was the whole
we
point.
realize their requirements. It's got to be within that outside area. There's a designated stage area, kind of the northeast corner of the outside. So
And based on some comments from Mr. Webster from the past, okay, because I remember him. His problem was when the people before you had entertainment, they didn't put I guess there's a backdrop, that helps with the noise going back to the neighborhoods, So obviously, I'm sure we're going to be hearing from him concerning that. What I was going to say, assuming everything goes great for you, permitting-wise, when will you be open?
we're targeting March 1st.
Okay, so you are, I was hoping that you say that,
Yes.
because it'll help having the bike week behind you,
Yes.
for the rest of the year, Okay, and then, okay, that's all from me.
Any questions? I had one for Carrie. So as we approved with conditions back in December, do those conditions still apply?
Well,
Or do
In the memo, those were for, you guys were weighing in on a variance. This is just the conditional use, so the only criteria you're looking at is on page 2. You see 23A, B, and C, and 24. That's the criteria you use to evaluate this proposal that's before you tonight. What's on page 1 is kind of a historical, what's been going on with the property. So that was for a variance, for a reduction in the number of required parking spaces. So that's different.
So even though it's different,
So that still
this is
applies
still-
to the property.
still applies?
Yes.
Okay. That was my,
Yeah, no, you go.
go ahead.
We both have the same question. Have you got in touch with the master plan? Is he on the master plan?
You say for the bike week? No, no. I mean, there's no time for the master plan to get in. It's over. So,
He could do a TPA. He could open up and have a TPA. This would allow for it, you know.
well, there's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, and we're aware of that.
Oh,
right.
The master plan is an exception to the TPA, yeah.
Any other questions or comment for Mr. Anderson? No? Thank you.
Okay.
Questions from the public?
Thank you.
He was quicker than you, John.
Good evening, Daniel Webster, 21 North Halifax Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida. A few weeks ago, I get in the mail a nice little notification. I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. I'm like, all right, because, the wreck was okay, and it's been going kind of downhill, and so I get a phone call Monday? Yeah. And I said, oh, sure, I'll meet you over there. Go in. Place has been gutted. Okay. All the furniture's gone. All that nasty stuff they got from Waffle House is gone. Floor's totally different. The bar's like, where'd the bar go to? And start chatting. And they're actually looking to do this as a real restaurant, as opposed to some contorted combination of a biker bar restaurant that's never going to work. So that was very encouraging. I like what I've seen that they're actually doing. I think it actually has a real chance. Looked at the menu, all that good stuff. So that all looks good. Just wanted to give you that heads up on it that we have talked. We also did talk about their need for outdoor amplification permit. Reed, you need to get with them on that. They didn't know about that. And that the key issue on the music is, and what's worked, what actually did work, is if they contain it to that north east corner of the deck area, and they put the rear curtain or shutter thing down, and the one beside it, and also have some kind of secondary backdrop in there to muffle it. It's all a go, and they say that they're agreeable to that too. So it's really a two-layer system, Reed, that needs to be part of the condition, and both on the north side and to the west, as far forward as whatever, basically that first section between the columns there. And if that's done, really no noise gets back to us, and neighbors are happy, and we're just real excited that there may be a real facility going in there, and I ask you to actually to approve it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nicholson?
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. A couple of things. He said they got rid of the gaudy stuff, the paint, the Denny's indoor, outdoor furniture. If you remember, the last one had the Denny's stuff outside that kind of warped and looked like garbage. I know people have said that there were restaurants in the past, and just for your information, will this kitchen remain? We do have 2 restaurants without a kitchen, and Seabreeze has a couple without a kitchen. So it's really not a restaurant without a kitchen. So, one, I want to make that public. That is a concern of mine, that we have another restaurant without a kitchen. Secondly, we have 11 biker bars, restaurants on Main Street. Another one would be a kiss of death. We do need diversity on Main Street. 3, I would love to see fresh seafood, local seafood, rather than this canned stuff that comes in. We have blue crabs in the area. We have shrimp right off the coast, all kinds of stuff. We have a port just south of us that has fresh seafood. I would love to see something unique and different, but it's up to them. Again, it is horrible to come over the bridge and see that place closed. There are restrictions on that location. The previous board did not want them to be part of Bike Week, tied their hand. In the past, Bike Week went from river to ocean. Dino can recall when there used to be biker events on the boardwalk itself, and now that part of A1A to the ocean is dead, and the area from Peninsula to the river is dead. So a good 1/3 of Main Street is dead during Bike Week and Biketoberfest. I would ask you to consider whatever he might want to do. I know it's too late for Bike Week, but for Biketoberfest and in the future, if some of these things that were restrictions for the last restaurant, if he proves to be a restaurant and keeps his kitchen, etc., that we loosen up and allow Bike Week to go from river to ocean, because our tourists don't realize we have restrictions. They just think, oh my God, it's just this little section downtown. I mean, it's this area from Peninsula to A1A. If we want to, quote unquote, expand or keep Bike Week, we can't keep restricting it, making it smaller and smaller. So I know it's been a problem in the past. Many of the merchants on Main Street have worked with the residents, and it's not as noisy, it's not as disruptive. All of the problems that we remember from the 80s and the 90s are basically gone. So I would ask you to think again about this location and others to the west of Peninsula, to include them in Bike Week, if you could. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there additional public comment? All right. So is there a motion to approve DEV 2015-13 conditional use request for Sunsetters Riverfront Bar and Grill?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving DEV 2015-13 conditional use request for Sunsetters Riverfront Bar, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please respond by saying nay. Motion passes. All right, so we'll move on to DEV 2014, DEV 2015-14, which is conditional use request for outdoor service area for Neptune's Restaurant. Reed?
Okay, this is in many ways an identical type of request where somebody already has a restaurant, has an outdoor service request of alcohol, food. And what's happened in this case is that Neptune's Sports Bar which is located right there at A1A and ISB. They, right now, if you look at it, it looks like it's an outside seating area that's just enclosed by glass and a roof. But it's actually all indoors. It's heated and indoor area that's part of the restaurant inside. So what they're trying to do now is in their remodeling is make that outdoor, open up screens instead of a fixed glass, so that they can keep that in the outside area and build a wall on the interior for this cafe that be outdoor patio and seating. So that's what they're doing. They're not changing the outside walls whatsoever, other than to replace the current glass with the new movable glass and screening. That's the difference. And and on the inside, again, closing it off so that you can actually shut a door and then have another door that will leave from the patio area directly outside where the main entrance is to the restaurant. So those are the basic changes that are happening. So from the outside, you really don't see much of a change whatsoever in the facade. And it's already landscape, it has the pavers. So these requirements that we've talked about before, those that are applicable, they meet those conditions. So staff is recommending approval. I do not have the applicant in the audience at this time. I'm not sure why, but But this is a fairly straightforward request to allow them to now just remodel, if you will, to meet the technical requirements of outdoor service. And they will be getting a separate alcohol beverage license for that purpose as well.
All right. If there's nobody here to speak on behalf of it, do we have comments?
I have questions for
Sure.
Mr. Reed. You said they're not going to change the facade at all? They're not changing the facade of the building at all?
They're not changing anything other than the windows themselves. The windows themselves are changing so that now you can open them and they'll be screened.
Okay, so the little wall that's there, it is
Yes.
going to stay there?
That's going to stay.
So basically, they're just going to bring sliding doors, sliding windows?
Right, right. And they'll paint it and make it all new, look new again. So it's, yeah,
So my other question is?
yes.
The wall is still there, so there won't be any serving on beyond that wall?
No, there'll be nothing outside. You won't be able to really visually detect what's going on inside unless you're standing on the sidewalk and peering in.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Is this on? I've seen this effect in other places. I think in Savannah, they've got some restaurants that have this idea of being able to be outside, but when you need to, you can enclose it, and it's very effective. And I think on that corner, if you have the visuals of seeing people enjoying themselves in what appears to be an outside setting, that does a lot for the kind of feel that streetscape has. And I think it's a great idea.
Will they be able to qualify to, I guess with the state law, would you be allowed to smoke in that?
That's my question.
Yeah.
Well, because they're actually going to close off that entire area, there'll be windows in the interior wall. They're going to be able to completely close it off. So I imagine if that door qualifies, maybe they can, but that has never been discussed with them about smoking.
If there's a roof, there's an awning, even if there's windows, there's...
Okay, so if there's a roof, it's not
They're
allowed.
not allowed. They have to be-
Okay, so that roof that's there right now is going to stay. It's just the windows are going to be.
So whatever regulations are in place with the state regarding smoking, they'll have to follow those.
Now, this is I don't have a problem with this. In fact, I like it, and I agree with Mr. Chaplin just said about the appearance. When you see the visibility of people, will make you more conducive to going to the facility. But the one point I just want to make because we had an item that came before us probably about a year ago. And it says, and this is B item, the perimeter of the use shall be defined in accordance with the state of Florida alcohol beverage and tobacco regulations and approved by the Redevelopment Review Board. I don't have a problem with it, but do you remember when the Main Street Cafe came before us to have the tables outside?
Right.
Okay, I referenced that and said, because I had brought to the board the outside, at the boardwalk, we have these nice little fencing areas, and I was proposing to the person, and I believe Carrie had turned around to me and said, well, we don't regulate, we don't require that, that's a state thing. But I see it in here that it is not only a state thing, but the Redevelopment Review Board has to agree with it, so it is a mandated part of this item. I didn't see it being a mandated part of that item, and I was told it's not required, whereas the state, I was told here that, we don't look at that, and that's something the state law says. If you're going to have outside serving, you have to have an area, delineated by, some kind of, barricades or what have you, So I just want to make that point in case that ever comes back up again, that, that it is part of this one, okay? B.
Well,
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do, but I think maybe we're just talking about two different things. One thing is to delineate the area for the state, which is simply to draw a line. but
Yeah, but
not
the state also has a
necessarily to put a
requirement in
fence
addition-
or anything else in between. That's a barrier of some kind.
The state has a law that is not only delineate the area, but to have it, like, barricaded off, you know? I mean, you can't, it's not supposed to be open like that, you know? But that's, okay.
Well, I'll be
I mean-
glad to carry on that discussion with you, though.
That's fine, we'll talk about it
Offline.
later. I just wanted to point out that it is part of this one, okay? But
Okay,
anyways.
thank you.
Reed, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
If we're looking at the bottom picture, so the building's not getting bigger. They just want to take that 8 feet and enclose it?
Right. When they're not enclosing it, they're actually opening it up, that enclosure now, which is fixed glass, and they're replacing it with movable
So basically, it's
glass
going to look like
screen.
this, and they're just going to put
A different kind of exterior
glass,
on it.
different
and
exterior,
then they're
so
gonna
they
build-
can open a window or whatever, but
Right.
have screen there.
Right, and then they're going to close it off so that the interior restaurant can be heated, but that area will be
Okay,
open to
when you
the
say
elements.
close it off, is it going to be, are they going to like build a wall after the 8 feet to make it two different
Inside.
sections?
They're going to do that inside the restaurant, so there'll be an interior wall that will close it
So
off.
like if you're walking down the sidewalk and you're looking through the mirrors after 8 feet, you're going to see a wall.
You're going to see a wall in the back.
You're going to see, and
Yes.
then but beyond that wall is going to be the rest of the restaurant.
That's correct.
Yeah, the back 6 pages, the handwritten one's pretty it says it
Yeah.
is pretty good. It's handwritten.
Is that something they want to do or they have to do?
I think that's what they want.
I think they want to do all of this,
I wouldn't want to do it.
and I
Because you're, I mean, my thinking here is you're walking by the sidewalk, okay, and you got the screen open to invite people, but then right behind the people sitting, you're going to have a wall.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're not going to be able to look into the establishment.
yes, you will, because when I say wall, it's going to have glass. It's going to be essentially glass on top of a knee wall inside.
Okay, so it'll be like
visual.
it'll be a glass, so you'll be able to see through it, but it's
Right.
not going to be a wall.
Right.
You're gonna be able, exactly the way it is, you're going to be able to see a new set of glass windows, and behind that's going to be a secondary set of glass windows. So you're going to
Okay.
be able to see right
Yeah,
into the
well,
bar.
I-
See the TVs and neons. I'm sure they'll have probably an outside speaker for the jukebox, and you know.
If you could
it's-
have a glass room.
Yeah, so
Am I-
like
Glass room, two
a patio that you can see through.
Yeah, and if you haven't been there before, you go into the main entrance, and there's a parakeet there to greet you at the outside door. It's kind of neat.
It's almost like the wing house at Ocean Walk, you know, in theory, where it kind of, you have that
Yeah, they got
outside
the
area, yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
I just don't understand why they would go through the expense of putting mirrors on the inside of that one wall.
No, it's years. It's going to be glass.
Or glass, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Is there additional comment before we move to public comments?
Yeah, but I think we,
All right, John? I have the green form. It says you want to talk about it. I wasn't being presumptuous.
No, they're there. Got that with Midtown last night. John Nicholson, 413 North Grand. Possibly understand what they're saying because it makes absolutely no sense. The roof there is not a roof. If you all remember in the 70s, it is the curved window glass. So it is a curved piece of metal and a curved glass. So to put a window, to take out the glass, if it's a contiguous piece of glass from the wall to the knee wall is continuous, how do you take it out and not take out the roof when you take out the glass? So are they putting a new roof on?
Yeah, no. They can take it off.
It's metal frame.
It's metal.
Well, no, I understand that.
They can support it, they can
But,
support
I'm not talking about the support and all that kind of stuff. When
the
you sit there and
glass
say
is
you're
not
taking
continuous.
one window out and putting a movable window, all right, one would presume that it is a movable window which is two-dimensional, you know, is a rectangle.
If I'm not,
Not-
John, I think if I'm not mistaken, this thing here is going to be putting sliding doors. Everything's going to be like a pocket, everything's going to be sliding.
Now, that to me would make more sense than a pocket.
That's what I think.
That would be the logical thing is, because it's open already. And like they do on Main Street, they have as much as 20 feet of one window falling into the next window, falling into the next window, which would make a tremendous amount of sense and fast and easy. But the outside, this is the third time this has come before this board over the last 30 years. And apparently they did this when they weren't supposed to do it, so the city was perturbed at them for doing this in the first place, and then decided to screw them so they couldn't do anything with it for the last 20 years. It makes absolute sense. I don't know if you've seen Hawk Heaven Barbecue. She has, again, gone into the 10-foot space. It makes absolute sense. People are sitting there eating all the time. It creates an ambiance. Domino's, what's it? There's Domino's, Baskin-Robbins, and something else. Dunkin' Donuts. Timmy had to jump through hoops to get the patio out there. It used to be a slanted sidewalk where everybody fell. So then he put this patio out there, but he had to jump through all these hoops. But it was the most logical thing and the wisest thing to do because people are always using it. This makes absolute sense if we can let him do whatever he wants, which makes most sense for that location. An open area, if we're putting any restrictions whatsoever on him, let's not.
So you're proposing that we let him do whatever he wants?
In terms of, no. If the city's saying you have to have glass, you have to enclose it, you have to do this, as an open area makes the most sense possible for that location. People coming by, seeing bodies there is beneficial to everybody on A1A and the boardwalk. When they see bodies, it is to our benefit to see activity, movement, people, than to have anything that would hinder them seeing bodies there.
Agreed.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Rita, I do have one question over here. Why the requirement on the screening from the residential area adjacent to the property is all commercial, right?
Yeah, it's not an applicable section. Because
Okay, all right, it just happened to be mentioned. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
All right, do we have a motion for DEV 2015-14?
I make a motion. I move to accept the motion.
Do we have a second for DEV 2015-014?
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving, you threw me off my game. All in favor of approving DEV 2015-014, please respond by saying yay.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed, please respond by saying nay. All right, the motion passes. So we move into redevelopment projects update.
Very simply, I have one major change to bring to your attention, and that is this book right here. This is the new Land Development Code. There are a lot of us that were betting maybe this was never going to happen, but we now have, whether we like it or not, a new code, completely updated, revised, with the idea of streamlining a lot of things we do to bring it into the 21st century, and so we're going to be more development friendly in terms of being able to use a code that we think is it has a lot more visual in it. It has a lot of charts in here about process, and so we're looking forward to starting to work with this. It was approved on the 21st of January by the City Commission. It goes into effect March 1st. One of the things that it will do is it will affect this board in terms of some of the things that you customarily do. All of the plans, for the most part, site plans that would come before you, a lot of that is going to happen administratively. So a lot of the smaller decisions, the Hard Rock hotels and the larger projects that are 20,000 square feet or more, that are new projects, we will be bringing those to this board for their review. There will be a change in the size of the board from 9 to 7. And there will no longer be a design professional required of any of the redevelopment boards.
Say it ain't true.
It's true. Now, having said that, we need to call upon design professionals in the course of making our reviews as a staff. We have some people in-house, but also calling upon others when we need to, particularly if we get into something that's complicated. We'll be considering ways to introduce design professionals into the process. But staff will be doing a lot more of the review from March 1st forward. So just want to bring that to your attention. What that does is it puts a lot of responsibility on the staff to get it right and to do a good job, and that you're seeing quality out there on the street. And if that's not happening, this board still remains to have its say about anything that it's concerned about in terms of projects as they go forward.
I have a question for you. As far as when staff reviews the smaller site plans, will the applicant be able to appeal to this board in the event? And I'll just give you an instance, and not to name names, but we used to have a lady that worked for the city by the name of Suzanne Kewen, and she was trying to tell Denny's what corporate colors they're allowed to have, and that just didn't fly. Okay. And do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. And so I just want to know that if we had another Suzanne, would that applicant be allowed to appeal to this board or what have you?
You're asking a good question, and I haven't even updated myself on the answer for that one. It's too new. So Carrie's looking through it right now, and but this just came hot off the press.
Okay, but you understand.
But I know what you're saying, but it's just
and
not
I'm not
in
saying
my head
you're,
yet.
obviously, but I'm just saying
What the process is. But you would think there would be there were things in the old land development code that allowed for appeals.
to appeal.
Yes.
There you go.
Any person owning land in a redevelopment area subject to a development order, requirement, or determination issued or made by city staff and administrating this code may appeal such decision to the appropriate redevelopment board for the area where the appeal involves the application of design-related standards in this code.
Okay, so there is. Okay, thank you. All right. See, now you know.
So there will be times. We'll see how it goes. And be back before you with some of these, but hopefully not too many. Hopefully we'll be able to work that out before we ever get there.
So, Reed, we had a brief discussion. Do you want to communicate how the board might be, when you said we're going to go from 9 to 7, no design professional, March 1? Do you want to?
Well, I think
will that be communicated in a different manner?
it will, because there is an opportunity for the city commission to make some decisions about the boards and who's going to populate the boards come the month of March. So there is an anticipated. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that they're looking at trying to deal with this part of the code on the next city commission meeting next Wednesday. So it's coming up very fast to try to make sure that the commission has an opportunity to make sure that we've got the people set up for the next board meetings.
Okay.
And we'll probably be out there addressing those changes with each of you as we go forward. We'll be on the phone with you.
By the way, would you like to go ahead and introduce one of our next month's member? Ned Harper, please stand
I
up.
see him, yes. Ned Harper from the Planning Board. How you doing? Would you like to say anything?
He is the Planning Board appointee for this board. And his letter indicated that he could not participate at this meeting, but he could at the next one, right?
And, pardon me? Yes, there's an appointment, but what I'm going to tell you is that when he comes on board, and that he is serving in now an ex officio capacity, according to this, which means he can't vote. He can talk, which He does. Good, well. And listen.
Seriously?
So you're gonna be, I think, a great addition. But in terms of that capacity, the voting is actually not going to be allowed for the ex officio position. Okay.
All right.
Well, some items come before both boards, the planning board
That's right.
and the redevelopment
He'll
board,
get-
so you'll
he'll
get
get
your
his
pop
chance.
at it there.
Basically, what I will do is report to the planning board.
Exactly.
Put it in a meeting and whatever.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Reed?
That's all.
All right. All right. John? Says you want to speak about item number 7.
Well, we did bring up several things on, and I guess, I don't know if you all discussed these, because I know Midtown Board last night did not discuss removing the design professional, and there were a lot of things that are happening to the board that you all discussed that Midtown did not discuss. They did not know that the design professional was leaving. They did not know that there would be no vote by the planning board member. There are things that they were not aware of, and you guys are. But one of the things was not mentioned, that now that anything with 20,000 square feet or less will not come before you. It's like the city several years ago took away anything the city does in the Main Street CRA area. You will not be notified until after it comes out in the newspaper, and you will not vote on it. So things that the city does, you have no say-so. Now, anything that's less than 20,000 square feet, which would be approximately 3 city blocks in Main Street, so they could tear down literally 17 buildings, and you all would not be notified. Okay? I'm just letting you be aware of that. Secondly, I don't know if that neuters you, and I think that's something you should ask. What are your duties at this point on? When I first started coming 20-some-odd years ago, a lot of things came before the board, all right? And slowly but surely, things have been cut away. So I'm not quite sure whether you're just a rubber stamp or a yes man or something, or whether you actually do something for the city. The last thing I recall was Helen Humphrey wanting planters, and it took her, 10 years to get planters on Main Street? So I'm not quite sure what your position is. I do know that there was a design professional who wanted to discuss parking, and there was a problem with parking on Main Street. And they were sure that they would discuss the parking when it had to do with the redo of auditorium. Well, lo and behold, they put all the designs and everything was done, and there was no parking. And it came before you guys, and he says, what about parking? And they said, oh, no, we're not going to worry about that. So it's not your purview. Records are not your purview. Where the money is and how much money you have and what you can spend and what you can do is no longer your purview. So I have no idea what your purview is. What are you all going to do? So could you clarify that, one for yourselves and then also for the community? Because Karen from Boot Hill would like to extend Main Street to Peninsula, because all the decorations stop at Hollywood. Okay, everything stops at Hollywood for her, except Bike Week. And Bike Week stops at Peninsula for everybody else. So there are problems with Main Street that really should be unified. So there are things that you guys can do and that you should discuss. The lighting. I got real close the last time about increasing the lighting in the area, especially between Auditorium and Main Street. I got the facts and figures of $800 a year it would cost you guys to increase the lighting, and it never got anywhere. Lighting is terribly important. When it's dark and dreary, people don't feel safe, and for $800 a year, it's well worth it. There's poles right next to Teresa's and right next to Hot Leather. Those buildings block the lights from Grandview and from Wild Olive. So when you turn those corners, it's dark there. We need to put lights on those poles, one for security, and secondly for the well-being of people walking in the area. These are minor things, but they mean so much. They're now painting the fence that goes along the boardwalk. Remember I told you it was going to peel? Well, 6 months after when it appealed. They're not keeping up with it. Our tourists see this crap, pardon me, Teresa, this garbage all the time.
Wait, John, I just showed you a picture of the boardwalk fence being painted.
Right, but it took 7 years to get it painted.
Okay, because you just said
Okay.
it's not being painted.
It was not.
It was painted.
Yeah, so 2 days ago. That's really helpful. Okay? And they're not painting at all. There's spaces that they're not painting. All right? When they do things, they don't do it. If you did your business like they're doing to the boardwalk, you'd go out of business. All right? The decals, they're stealing the decals from the benches. So the city was nice enough to replace 4 of them, but they did not replace the one in front of the Hilton. Now, you guys know the value of the Hilton to the city. Why not replace that one? Also, the Ocean Walk, they're full year-round. There are 2 decals missing from there. They're working on the roof on the band shell. 5 months? I mean, that garbage is there, and it's going to take them at least 2 more months.
No, Reed explained at the last meeting. You were here.
Yeah. It's not done. Talk to the guy that...
They're going for an additional grant.
That doesn't mean that it's not going to look like garbage from February and March. We have an event called the Daytona 500 in February. A lot of people come in. We have an event called Bike Week. A lot of people come in. And they're going to see that. It should have already been done. Grant or no grant. It doesn't take that long to do. There's so much that we have to do. There's so much that you should do. I go to the Midtown board, they get stacks of paper like this. You guys don't get that. Go down to the downtown board, all kinds of things. They look through their pennies. You guys don't look at anything. They make all kinds of suggestions. You guys don't. I brought these in. They're in the Miami Herald. I'd like to do something like this for Beachside. I'd ask you, how many places do we have on the beachside to eat, drink, or be entertained that you can name? Do you know? Give me a ballpark figure.
How many
places do we eat? How many restaurants? How many bars?
Between
Seabreeze and International.
53.
Keep going.
Okay.
117. That's a lot. People don't realize that. I was talking to somebody at the Herald. Not the Herald.
I thought you were meaning successful. Okay.
No. Well, I consider the Ocean Deck successful. All right? There are lots of places that we have, we just don't advertise. Downtown advertises. They have a board that does nothing but advertise downtown. We don't have that. It's disjointed. Teresa advertises. You see it all the time. How many places do we have on Main Street to either eat, drink, or be entertained? Can you tell? How many restaurants on Main Street?
3.
12. How many bars on Main Street? 1. We have 12 restaurants and 1 bar and a candy shop. Nobody knows. We have all the infrastructure for another Duval Street, another Bourbon Street, which would be a tremendous help to the Ocean Center and all the hotels. Main Street is our gem, and when they closed the beach, it killed Main Street. It's not the vending. Everybody always hears about the vending. It's not the vending that killed Main Street. The city is deliberately killing Main Street in bits and pieces. That's why I asked to help out the people that are going in at the Captain's Tavern. Everybody needs help. And it's your job as the CRA board for Main Street to do that work. Thank you.
Thanks. Any additional public comment? Yes, ma'am?
There's more than one bar on Main Street.
Thank you. My name's Amy Pyle. I live at 136 South Grandview Avenue. I'm a resident of Surfside Historic Village, and I'm wondering if I'm in the right place I have 2 kind of general topics I'd like to talk about. One is about some things that were brought up at previous meetings, and I don't see Suzanne Ramsey here, so I don't know if
This is Suzanne for today.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, some of the things that she brought up at the meeting hit home with me, so I wanted to just kind of throw in a couple of comments.
On the homeless issue, or?
Well, a little bit. I mean, I wrote it out, so I'm not going to run on. I'm just going to read it. I want to make sure I'm in the right place. And then the other is sort of a project that I would just love to see come before the board at some point. I know you guys have a lot on your plate, so I'm just going to throw it out there and see what happens. So this is my first time. At a previous meeting, Ms. Ramsey mentioned the possibility of writing a letter to Surfside Village residents. I agree that a letter to the owners should be written about the trespassing problem. I don't know if anybody's looked into that, but I like the idea of sending a letter to everyone in Surfside Village to ask them to be vigilant in reporting crime and vagrancy. I liked her ideas that she had there, and I would like to volunteer to create a database with all the addresses if this is a problem or people don't have time to do it. I think this is something that could be easily done that I could help with. Another question I have is it possible to make it mandatory for non-resident owners in Surfside Village to complete a trespass site authorization that she was asking about? Because I know that, I have one, but I live at my house. And Captain Newcomb is trying to get these other places that, you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Can it be mandatory? Is that possible?
I think that's a
Yeah.
question.
For people that live in Canada and own a house here and don't
I
feel
think
like
as a-
signing one?
Yeah, as a property owner, you have certain rights, and so the city can't come and say, you have to do this, it's their property. We can
Right.
suggest it, but we can't force them.
Okay, I just didn't know if they could say, well, if you don't live here, we're going to have a trespass site authorization. No. Another thing we can notify residents about that you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that I know this seems like such a small item with everything else, but that it's a crime to steal from the recycling bins, because I see what everybody sees. They come through with the big bags every day, and I know it's not against the law apparently to go through my trash, but I believe it's against the law to steal out of the recycling bins. And if people were aware and they could report these guys walking through with the big bags picking up stuff, it's another just way to help the police to keep up on individuals that, we don't want to just always look the other way because it piles up, the infractions. If I want to report a crime, I send emails directly to Captain Newcomb. He was nice enough to give me his email address, and I'll click a picture of a drug deal in process, and I'll send it off to him, and he says, I got it, or even on a Sunday, he'll forward it to someone, and he's been really great about that. And I think getting the community involved and other homeowners like myself that care, and not everybody cares, but there's probably at least a few handfuls of people that would be interested in the possibility of an app. And I know this may sound crazy, but it could be done, and I've seen it done in other places, like on college campuses, for example, where residents of this particular neighborhood would have a very special app that I say, okay, I'm seeing a crime, I punch that, I send it, it'll automatically go to the right person. You can add a picture, you can add information, and it can be anonymous. And I'd just like to consider the possibility of looking into that. I don't know cost, I don't know what can be done, but I feel like that might be an idea that, I don't know how to pursue these things, but you guys can let me know. And then to Mr. Berger, one of the things that I saw in the minutes from the September 10th meeting were the last ones that I could see online. I don't know if any of the other ones have been published until I just saw these that you handed out this morning or this afternoon. You mentioned, you referenced, conversations that have been going on about the churches in Surfside Village. The Miracle Center Church on 5th and the Methodist Church on Harvey, and it was stated in there that the CRA does not permit feeding centers. So I'm wondering if anybody's looked into, are these churches still having feeding? It appears to me that they're still feeding the homeless or give out, giveaways of either clothing. I think it's food because I see them carrying what I believe is grocery bags. So if this is not permitted in a CRA, how do we go about stopping this? I live about 4 houses between, the Miracle Church is here and Harvey's, or the one on Harvey's here, and I'm right in the middle. I have a heart. I'm not ice cold, and I don't hate all people who carry backpacks. I have to just take on one thing at a time, and I think these 2 places are causing problems in our neighborhood for obvious reasons. You all know the story. And then the other thing is their trash at both of these places really piles up, and I know they probably aren't on a regular pickup like we are. Maybe they have their own contract that they get picked up on Wednesday or whatever. Sometimes businesses have one day a week that their trash gets picked up, and I see overflowing trash for several days because I walk my dogs around there every day, and it'll be overflowing for a few days. If it were my business, I would have to call for an extra pickup when it was overflowing, or reschedule on a day, if it appears to be. So, I'd like somebody to look into that because it seems like there's a lot of piles of garbage around that don't need to be. And then the other thing is, how does the CRA allow for signage that gets put out on the corners for these meal programs? And banners that are put up, there's a huge banner on the side of the church that says Medicaid access, blah, 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 and I don't see that as a religious thing. So I'm wondering if a church, can have a 20-foot banner on the side that you may have seen. I don't know if you've seen the banner. I see it every day, but it's on the side of the Methodist church. So if that's allowed in a CRA, maybe that's another thing we can have taken down. So that's my little nitpicky things. Now, the second area that I wanted to ask about is kind of it's a project, and I know you don't need any more projects, but I would like to throw out a proposal for a nice, I'm sorry, I haven't even looked over here. If you can imagine, from South Grandview, Kemp Street, all the way to the beach. Could be a beautiful beach access, and it goes right by the Streamline Hotel. And I walk this very often also, and it's not that long of an area. I don't know that anybody between Grandview and the beach besides myself and the Streamline owners really are all that concerned about it. So I'm bringing it up, and it may not have a whole lot of support, but I've spoken to them about it. At least one representative.
I'm on both sides of you. I own both properties on both sides of you.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know who I've got here, but, well, maybe you're interested in it as well. And if you walk that path, it seems like, some sidewalks, some landscaping, some getting on the homeowners about picking up their stuff.
Good luck.
Well, I'm here because I believe in that,
I've been trying for a long time.
All right, well, maybe we can,
Absolutely.
ally, because the people at the Streamline, if they're putting in a 5-star hotel, imagine if their guests had a beautiful way to walk out with their little bags and their umbrella and walk straight down to the beach.
Now you're talking about city property, private property, state property, and then easements.
Okay.
I'm talking about, there's 4 different, believe me, I own the property there. I give some to the city when they put the pavers and we tried beautification.
Well, educate me, because
I know exactly what
it's
you're
an area
talking
that I'm
about.
interested in,
Yes,
so
absolutely.
maybe we could talk.
Especially now that the Streamline is going to put a lot of money in trying to fix it and trying, but
What
at the end of the day, there's not everybody that has the funds to fix up their place.
Okay.
That's.
Well,
I guess Mr. Reed can.
it's an
knows about
idea.
it. Everybody knows about those things, so.
All right, well, it's just another corridor, just like ISB and just like the pier. And so here's this other little one in here that concerns me, the little person that doesn't have 20,000 square feet. But I'm speaking up because I feel like that's, it's America or what, So maybe we could talk about it. I don't know. I'd just like to hear what your ideas were or what you've already tried, because this is my first foray.
Well, if I could,
Absolutely,
just kind of respond to, there's a lot of things on your list. A lot of what I'm hearing is, like, you have a relationship with Captain Newcomb. I think with the police, just about everything we heard was going to be something that the police and code enforcement can help you with. The garbage, I'll give you some information about that. I'll give you my card. We will get back to you on that. And I think the last part of this that's important is to have some of you, yourself and some of your neighbors and Ms. Ramsey, and we all go out there. I've challenged this before, to go out and have a walk around in that neighborhood, and I will go out there and walk through all of these issues with you and any ideas that you have. Glad to do that. Fridays are my blue jean days, and I can get out and walk around. So think about how we can get together, and I can help you with all of the contact information so that you get the information you need. Most of what this board does, and they're very interested in all of this, especially as the individuals who have businesses and live in the area. So we'll start there, and maybe we can make some progress.
That's excellent. I thank you for that. And, you know, I'm trying to do what I can from my side, you know, but I love what's going on in Daytona, and we're huge fans. I mean, we bought a fixer-up over here. We loved it so much we moved in. And
I personally appreciate it very much with everything you said.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. We've been on it for many, many years, and welcome aboard.
Okay, well, good. And I'll, you know, the gentleman that I spoke with from the Streamline was interested to hear, you know, what happened, because they're kind of excited about it too. And obviously, they've got so much going on over there, and so we're
manager?
Yeah, and I would just love to see as much support go, you know, towards them, because they're not at ISB and they're not in Main Street, so I don't want them to get forgotten in the middle, because that could be a huge thing.
He's on one side, I'm on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Well, you know, it'll be nice to meet you all,
Absolutely.
and
Mr.
you know.
Reed has all my information. Like I said, we've been working with Mr. Reed for many, many years.
Okay, good.
Especially in that area, so I do appreciate you coming here.
Well, thanks for your time, and hopefully, if I show up again, you won't say, "Oh God."
No.
Thank you. Ned?
Can I approach? I'll fill out a green form afterwards.
You don't have to fill out a green form. Come on.
I just heard something that I thought I'd like to comment to. Sure.
Yeah, you could comment, but you can't vote.
Recently in the paper, they had an article about DeLand and where they had set up a program called Next Door.
I'm sorry. Can you do your name and address, please?
Ned Harper, 721 South Beach Street, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Sorry.
They set up a program called Next Door, and with Next Door, what you can do is you can set up a perimeter for any neighborhood. Only the members of that neighborhood and the police department can join that, or sheriff's department also, can join that neighborhood and share information. And they have an app. So what you could be able to do if you had certain communities, neighborhoods that are have boundaries, you do that with a mapping tool, and you can set that up. You can invite all the neighbors to join that and get them all in, connect with the police department and the sheriff department, and this can be used in neighborhoods to give out, to share information. So if there's been a burglary or someone's car got broken into, or if a main broke on some street and they wanted to let the neighbors know, don't drive down this street because it's closed off, this gives instant access, and if it's hooked to the police department with that app, you have the ability to communicate to the neighborhood and to them, and it's available, and it doesn't cost anything. I just signed up on it while I was sitting here while I heard her talking.
Yeah.
But I set it up in my neighborhood. I'm in a condo, so all of us in our condo are now members, and we've all signed up, and we're using it to share information and to get to know each other.
Wow.
What was it called again?
It's called Nextdoor. Nextdoor.com, and there's an app, and there's a site, and it doesn't cost anything, and I think it's a great way for communities to share information.
Well, thank you. Is there additional public comment? All right. If you have an additional comment, yes.
Well, just a second on what you just said. I wonder if do you know about the anonymity factor? Because I did try to join Nextdoor, and it seemed like I had to give out my information to all my neighbors, and frankly, in my neighborhood, I don't really want them or everyone to know who I am. So
You can limit the amount of information you give.
Yeah, well, I'll look at that site again, but, you know, I was just concerned with starting with the police and an app that we would join rather than trying to get all the, you know, I did try to do it in our neighborhood and I kind of failed because only 3 people wanted to join and I didn't really want to tell them who I was, honestly.
Right.
So, anyway, that's it.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Sean?
One thing, membership on the board has changed, so I'm not quite sure, because at Midtown, it was a little bit confusing, I didn't understand it. You have to be a resident of the CRA area, or a business owner, or a property owner, or a person who works in the neighborhood, or somebody walking through. Who exactly can be on the board if it's no longer what it used to be? So it used to be a business owner, but it's no longer a business owner. It can be just any employee, like if somebody flips burgers or something, who is defined as a business owner. I know what a resident is, and I know what a property owner is, but I don't know what the new terminology for business owner is.
Was Carrie going to answer, John, or
We-
no? I didn't want to.
We'll catch up with you if we have an answer, if not.
All right, so let's move ahead to board comments. I'll start this one and just thank the Andersons for investing in Main Street. Looking forward to it, and thank everybody that made public comments. That's what it's about. Thank you. Start with Jobert.
I want to say the same thing to the Anderson thing. Thank you very much for investing in the area. Good luck. You have a lot of work ahead of you, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I'll just be one of the first ones to stop by and see how it is once it's done. Good luck. So next one is for Mr. Reed. I know he's busy, but
Hey, Jobert, can you move your microphone? They're having trouble hearing.
sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Reed, question for you.
Yes.
That big book you got in front of you there, is a lot of it has to do with the codes that were changed on the E-zone? Or you haven't gone through it yet?
No, the E-zone is not in here.
Nothing in there.
No regulatory information on the E-zone.
So the question is, whatever is on the E-zone, the E-zone has nothing to do with the changes in there.
That's correct.
Thank you. Number 2, I do agree with John as far as the CRA money, as far as advertisement. I do agree with him as far as the advertisement for the beach side. I do disagree with John, and he knows I disagree with him a lot of times. John, listen, the beach side has been trying to come back since 2004. 2004, since the hurricanes. A lot of properties were down. It's coming back, and you know it, and I know it. That's a lot better now than the way it was before. It's cleaned up. It's not anymore the properties. It's trying to slowly but surely. But we know that Daytona is not a fast pace where things are happening fast. But it's coming. We got some projects in the books. It's coming, and people like the Andersons are investing money. There's other business that are opening. I know that there's a lot of demand for rentals. I know because I get calls on them. You know my properties. So there is attention on Daytona. It's changing. It's not as bad as you make it sound. But yes, we do need help with advertisement. I agree with you on that. My other question is for Carrie. Is there still an appeal, that property with the bungee and all that stuff going on? You know, with that...
Yes, they did file an appeal. I believe our brief is due beginning of March sometime.
Okay.
So they'll have another 20 days after ours is due, and then it'll be, who knows how long the court will take to decide. You're talking about the screamers, that one?
Yes,
that one.
that's it, yeah.
So yes, they did file the second appeal.
Okay,
And so we're in the briefing stage of it right now.
okay. So we still got another like 20 days before...
I would say conservatively, just the briefing issue would be like 50 days.
50, okay.
And
So
then
we still got a long
I don't,
time.
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Reed, there's a bunch of questions I have about that big book, but I guess you haven't gone through it yet, so I don't think we're going to have a lot of the answers yet.
Maybe I can do that over a cup of coffee with you.
You're on, not a
Okay.
problem. I'm done, thank you.
Brandon?
Go ahead, please.
I would like to say congratulations to you guys. I'm glad to see a new couple inside the old wreck there. I'm glad to see that it's going to be a restaurant. Secondly, I just would like to clarify what John and what I'm hearing with the new regulations. It's 20,000 square feet or less the city is dealing with, and that means that the city is going to be wholly dealing with that. And what are we doing then? That sounds like we're just going to be dealing with larger capacity establishments, like pretty much all the hotels on the beach side.
Will you also be looking at all of the text changes that will come up? And there's going to be a number of text amendments that will probably come out of when you change wholesale land development code. You start to look at it and discover things that were not intended.
Okay.
So you'll probably see some of those coming through. So, and any legislative issues that affect Main Street, the redevelopment plan, its implementation, that really is something that you have to feel here accountable to. And then there's also all of the requests that might come through as a planned development, might be coming through as a rezoning, which is a planned development, is one kind. But just anybody looking for rezoning would come through here. But a lot of conditional uses go away. There are conditions, though, that you looked at before, i.e. for restaurants, that still are applicable with this new code that we have to follow. We have to make sure they still are following those conditions that go with certain uses. Okay? So a lot of what's in there it's just not you have staff doing what they want to do. There's guidelines on how things are going to develop.
I think the whole point about one of my favorite things about being on this board was actually meeting the people that were the under 20,000 square feet, the couples. I think that was a gist that I loved about this. I hate to see that would go away.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's it.
Tina?
First, congratulations again. I knew as soon as I saw this item that we'd be seeing Dan Webster again. that was a given. I wanted, can you bring up that item that I asked you to? I traveled to North Carolina on Allegiant Airlines, and they had little articles for St. Petersburg, for Clearwater Beach, and other cities. I ended up talking to the person, how they're in charge of Allegiant Airlines, and I got us a Daytona Beach article that's going to be in every single Allegiant Airlines magazine that sits in front of every passenger, and that is the article. Obviously, the Ferris wheel, the pier, and the band show are part of it, and it's free. Okay, it's not an advertisement. It's free, and I think we should start targeting. It's easy to do. I mean, if somebody else other than myself who's got a million things to do could target Delta and other places, I mean, this could help, tourism for Daytona Beach. It's a nice family-oriented article. It also talks about the pier and the changes in Joe's Crab Shack and everything within there, So it's a nice little thing, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, I emailed it to you, so you got it in your email.
Greatly appreciate it.
No problem.
You were fantastic. Did you find that, or you approached them to put that in there?
Yes.
Yeah. When was it in there?
And then she emailed me back, because I had told her before it hits your plane, can you please email me? So this is a download that she gave me that I shared with Reed and other city officials and everything like that you could actually see the magazine prior to its release. This is well, actually, it should be now. It says February through, February through the end of April. And hopefully she'll just keep doing it, because I see the same articles about Clearwater Beach and stuff in that same article.
Flying back. I flew Allegiant out of Sanford and Knoxville. I may be doing that in March.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's a cheap airline, so there's a lot of people who see this, and you can, you strum through it. Anyways, okay, just want to share with that, and that's all I have to say,
Thank you.
I have one question, if it's possible, for Mr. Reed.
Sure.
Is that online already?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful, okay.
Can I purchase one of those? I mean, I know this online is one thing, it's another thing to have the book and actually, and I'm willing,
At one point, they may have something that they put on a CD at the clerk's office. If you want to just call them directly and see what that is, or I'll get back to you with that.
well, if it's online, I could also have a printing company print it for me and
If you need
Well, you
to.
can only print it, so yeah, because I think we're all concerned about here, we all have properties around
You're right.
the area, so we're all concerned about, the changes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Sir? Teresa? Dino? Carrie, did you have the answer to John's question?
It says 7 members who reside or have their principal place of business in either the Main Street redevelopment area or the South Atlantic.
Or where?
Or South Atlantic. So resident or principal place of business.
All right. So that makes this my last board meeting.
Well, you'll be the last chairman of the Main Street South Atlantic Redevelopment Area Board because it's going to change to the Beachside Redevelopment Board next month.
So you upgrade the title when I leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good idea for that, because I think it concerns all of us.
All right. With no further comment, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.